Hi, everybody. Good morning. Hey, Gerald. Okay, I need the clicker. Very good. Thanks, Justice. All right, guys, we're going to talk about planning. Who wants to plan for your future? Yeah, because we're going to talk about what happens when you don't plan. So what we're going to cover today is the proactive and reactive perspectives. We all have them, and we're going to really dive deeper into your internal being as to how that is going to impact your decisions going forward. Then we're going to talk about how will I know when it's time to move? You know, we've been doing this for, 18 years, going on almost 2 decades now. And we've been helping older adults transition life. And that's one of the hardest things to know when everyone asks me, when is my time? When should I go? When should I transition? Because I see my friends or my cousins moving and I just want to stay home. How many of you want to age in place? Many of us do. But there will be a time that it may not be the best environment for you. And what are my living options? What's going to happen? Where can I go? Where can I live? Right. And then what should I do with my home? You have a number of options, right? You can keep that. You can give it to your kid, let your kids stay there. You could rent it. You could sell it. You have a lot of options. Then how do I pass on this legacy now and alive so that the kids don't fight? How many of you have heard of a family who fought over real estate after mom and dad died? Yeah, we all have. We all have. And there's a reason for that. The reason is we put it in our trust, and we believe the trust is going to keep the property safe, and it does. It keeps it safe from probate, but it doesn't keep it safe from your family. And the reason for that is your trust document says, upon my demise, my family is supposed to share that property. How do you split real estate? You can't. You can't divide real estate. It's one asset. It's like a diamond rape. How are you going to split that with the 2 sisters? You can't. It's the same thing. So as long as you understand that, then you're going to move forward in your mind as to what other options are there. And then when should I start planning? Right. We're going to talk about that. So again, there's 2 types of perspectives you can have. You can have the proactive perspective, or you can have the reactive one. And guess what? You get to choose which perspective you want to take, because that's the beautiful thing about where we are today is you get to decide how your mind is going to work, how you're going to plan. See, the proactive person says, I know I'm going to get older. I know I have some health challenges. I know that my knees are bothering me, my hips are bothering me. I know that in time I can't do the stairs. I know that over time I don't want to be cooking and cleaning by myself. Over time, I know that I want to spend more time with other people my age. Over time, I want to be in community with others versus being in isolation. That's the proactive person. The proactive person is thinking about the next phases of life. Because really the question I'd like to ask you, I ask everybody I'm going to be 60 this year. And I ask my friends and people older than me a very simple question. How many good summers do you think you have left? How many good summers do you have left? Good ones, not just surviving, good summers. And then that puts in their perspective, wow, I'm not going to live forever. Therefore, I should do what I should do best now, while I can make my own decisions. Because the other side of that's a reactive person. The reactive person says, I'm not getting any older. I'm going to stay where I am, and they're going to carry me out in a box. Anybody heard that before? Yeah, we hear that all the time. Right? Well, what happens in that case is they're going to live in, it's kind of like a light bulb. We don't know when this light bulb's going to go out. That's our life. We don't know when we're going to get sick. We don't know when we're going to have a health incident. And then when it does show up, now you're reacting. So imagine putting yourself in a place where you have to react to a situation. That's a health situation. And then maybe you're alone. How difficult it is to make that change, make that move under those circumstances. The hardest, I got to tell you, for those who are husband and wife, it's so much easier to move while you're together. Why? Because you're together, you can go through your things together, years of belongings and treasures and clutter together, right? We get to do it together. We get to decide where we're going to live together. We get to move together. We get to get into an environment, beautiful place like this together. And then if something bad happens to one, now you have a support system already in place. And that's why we're a fan of retirement communities, just like where we are today. And I got to give it up to the team here, the ID team. Can we give them a big hand?
And the minute is still like that.
I go to all retirement communities, not only in Hawaii, but all over the country. You're not going to get this type of meal, and the meals are really good here. I got to tell you, way above anything I've ever seen. So we had a client that came to one of our seminars. She says, "Hey, Dan, I'm okay. She was fairly young. She was like mid 60s, early 70s, and people wanting still play golf, very active adult, right? Her and her husband." And she said, "Everything's fine. I'll call you when I'm ready." I said, "Sure." About 3 months later, she calls me in tears. And it was one of the hardest phone calls I had to hear, is that she said, "My husband just passed away. He was picking papaya off the back of the tree and he fell down and hit his head, and I wasn't home. And when I came home, I found him on the ground in the backyard. And I need to move." And you should have seen how difficult it was for a widow to take care of her husband's things by herself. It was so hard. And we were there for her. We helped her. We helped her get her house ready. We helped her move to another, I think she bought a smaller condo with that one. Because he was very younger. But the bottom line is, had she had made the move while she was healthy, it would have been so much easier for her. But yet, she took the reactive approach. So I'm here to tell you not what to do. You get to choose what you get to do. I'm here to say that I've seen so many good and bad environments. The proactive one is the best environment you're going to get. The reactive side is the worst environment you're going to be in. And when you're in that worst environment, it's hard for anybody to really help because it's so difficult when you're by yourself. So our mission is always to let people know that you get choices. We're here to present options to you. And we know we've seen the good and the bad. And we've seen people who live life and thrive for many, many years in a retirement community like this because they have freedom, right? You don't have to cook, you don't have to clean, you can go on vacations, you can drive, you can play golf. Some of our clients are still working. You can do that, but it's in an environment where you left the old life into a new life. Because the next phase of life, as we get older, it's a needs-based life. We're going to need help. Should we be blessed to live long enough? I'm sure we're all going to agree that we're going to at some point need help, right? All of us. Should we be blessed to live long enough? The thing about the world today is that medical technology is so advanced. It's so advanced that, one of our friends, and he's a pastor, I've heard through a text that he had a heart attack. And in my mind, all I could see is, my mind's eye, I saw a knife go through his chest, him opening him up, then stitching him up. He's in the hospital for weeks on end. That's not the case today. They stuck a little hole in his vein. They ran a wire all the way up his vein into his heart. They put a stent in, which is a balloon. He walked out of the hospital that day. That day. Like, who does that? Medical technology is keeping our bodies alive longer. What they can't help us with is this, our mind. And what we do know from studies from gerontologists or people who study the aging is isolation is the worst thing for this. And the best thing for keeping your mind active is cerebral stimulation, is being in community with others, right? See, in a retirement community, you get to go downstairs for a meal 3 times a day versus staying at home and never seeing anybody for days or weeks on end. And that's where isolation sets in. And that's where memory loss happens greater. And so we're a fan of you being proactive to make decisions to get to an environment that's going to suit you good, suit you well. Right? But you get to choose. So when's the time to move? Is your home too large now that the kids are gone? Maybe you have a 3, 4, 5 bedroom home. Maybe it's just you or maybe your spouse. I can't tell you how many homes I've gone into, and uh, the doors are closed, the 3 or 4 bedroom home, and I open the door, it's little Johnny's room. Well, little Johnny is 65 right now. Little Johnny ain't coming back. But as a parent, we hope and pray that little Johnny's going to come home. And I got to tell you, he ain't coming home. He's just not going to come home. So the dream of maybe filling your house up with the past, what we suggest is, there's people that look in the past. And when I ask people, oh, what do you do? I play golf. Oh, I'll take you play. Well, I haven't played in a while. Oh, what was the last time? Oh, 20 years ago. So he's living in the past. Then there's a guy that lives today and he says, no, I'm okay today. I walk around, I stay exercise. I think I'm going to be okay. Then there's a guy that looks into the future. And he says, I know, I've seen my relatives, I've seen my brothers and sisters, I've seen people around me as they aged, they needed help. But they didn't get in front of that help. They were behind it and they were reactive. And that's where bad things showed up. How many of you know what I'll go to this end here? So is your home or yard too much work to maintain? Maybe you have a bigger home and you've got this big mango tree that leaves all the rubbish. Are you tired of cooking and cleaning? Anybody tired of cooking and cleaning? John. I am too, John. Oh, yeah. Yeah. At some point, it's kind of humbug to cook for just 1 or 2 people. So what do? We go out to eat. We go to Zippy's. We go to places that are comfort food, but frankly, just maybe not as healthy for us, honestly. Does your home have too many steps? We had a client that had 78 steps to get to her house. And she said to me, she was about this tall. I remember her because she was very active and strong. She was moving into a retirement community. I said, let me understand. What's causing you to want to move into the retirement community? She said, Dad, I'm 78 years old. My steps can't be healthy all this time. But what you don't realize is my neighbor 2 doors down, Betty, she fell on her steps and she broke her hip. Betty never saw her house again. And she said, that's not going to be me. I'm going to move when I can move, on my terms, when I can. And are you living alone and concerned about security? Today, there's tons of challenges out there. With the economy going down, there's a lot of crime, people living alone. Anybody have the app next door? Yeah, next door, it's a horrible app. Don't get it. Because I say it's horrible because you'll see crime every day. And people will look right into the camera and steal stuff into your home. It's horrible. Well, I'm afraid for mature adults that are living alone. And what if something bad happens? These are all these challenges that we're seeing in the world today that when you come to a place like this, that doesn't happen, right? It's a protected environment. It's a safe environment. You'll get help if you need help. Would you like to make your own decisions about where and when your next move will be? Or do you want to leave that up to somebody else? So I mean, take you on a path of 2 journeys. One journey is, the best case scenario journey is, as you get older, 70s, 80s, 90s, you get older, we're all going to get a little forgetful. We think it's just a little forgetful. The doctors call it other things, right? Right? Like half the time I don't know where my keys or my glasses are. I'm 60. What happens when you get 70, 80, and 90? Well, that becomes real. My mom was one of them. My mom, bless her heart, I lost my parents September of last year, and my dad in February. But before that, they lived in her home in Coyote, and she kept falling down. She kept getting forgetful. And we finally got to a point where I said, it's just not safe to live here. She didn't want to go, but our family together said, Dad can't pick you up. We can't call the ambulance every night when you fall down. You're going to have to make a move. So we as a family said, my dad agreed that this is what you should be doing. So we moved them into the retirement community, right? Where they were cared for and protected. But she didn't get to make that decision. And that's going to happen to some of you, where your family is going to say it's not safe for you to stay home. Somebody else is going to make a decision for you. By the way, that's the best case scenario. Here's the worst case scenario. How many of you know what the Office of Public Guardian is? The Office of Public Guardian. It's a state office. Every state has it. It's designed to take care of people who cannot take care of themselves. So let's just say you knew your neighbor across the street. We'll call her Mrs. Smith. You know Mrs. Smith, and you said, hey, every day you saw her sweeping the leaves out, and getting her car, and she's fine. She gets a newspaper. She goes back in her house. Well, one day you wake up and you notice the newspaper's out there, and she hasn't swept the leaves up. Maybe she's sick today. So you go on your merry way for the day. You come back. The next morning you get up and you say, there's 2 newspapers on our door today. There's a problem here because that's never happened. So what do? Because you care, you walk across the street, you knock on Mrs. Smith's door and you go, hey, are you okay? Well, you see her car in the driveway, you hear the TV on, she's not responding. You're concerned. What do? Call the police. The police are going to come and do the same thing until they break her door down. They get to her. 9 out of 10 times, she's on the ground. Unfortunately, some of the times, she's expired in her own home, because things happen when we get older, right? Things happen. My mom would fall just because maybe she didn't drink enough water that day. Simple thing of just hydrating enough could lose your consciousness. You could fall and you could hit your head, right? Where you get to a point where you break a hip and you can't get to the phone. You can actually expire in your house. Well, this is what's happening every day, unfortunately. And I'm not here to scare you. I'm here to share my experience in life with working with mature adults. I'm here to share with you the good and the bad of what I've seen over the last 18 years of serving this community. And it's real. And I know we don't want to hear it, and I know we don't want to see it. The reason why I bring it up is it might happen to one of you. It just might. So what happens with the Office of Public Guardian? They come in and they assuming she's alive and breathing, they're going to take her. They're going to move her to the hospital. The hospital wants to discharge her at some point. They're going to put her to a rehab center, right? Well, in order to discharge her, they need a guardian. Well, if there's no next of kin, they're going to call the State Office of Public Guardian. They will be assigned to that person to be the guardian, to take care of health and medical affairs. And the guardian will go to the judge in downtown, and they'll assign a conservator to take care of legal and financial affairs. By that time, this individual has proven to the state of Hawaii that they can no longer take care of themselves. You will definitely lose your choice of where you're going to live, because somebody's going to make it for you. Because you got to the point of denial, and it was a reactive person that experienced this. The only reason I'm telling you this is it pains my heart to see these situations, and we see them every month, that people, unfortunate things happen when we're alone, right? And my suggestion is don't be alone. Be in community with others, right? Be in an environment that's healthy, thriving, healthy, safe. And that's why we're a fan of retirement communities. We're advocates of retirement because we know that you're healthier in this environment versus being alone in your home. And we've seen what bad looks like. One of our cases was really, really sad. Husband and wife lived together in a condo in Kaneohe. And the husband was fine, of healthy mind and body. The wife had dementia, severe dementia, where they had to lock her doors down to keep her in the house, in the condo. Well, one day he wakes up, he has a heart attack, he dies in his hallway. The wife held her husband for 3 days on the floor in the hallway because she didn't know what to do. And then she starts walking around the community, aimlessly knowing not what to do. And the people saw her and they helped her. By the time they got to the place, they saw her. We walked into that unit about 3 days later. And I don't know if you know what an environment where the body is expired for days, all the fluids leave it, and it's all over the floor. is so painful to see. That should somebody have an opportunity, should somebody have the financial ability to take their life and proactively move into an environment that's safer, we're fans of that because we know what happens otherwise. And we've seen too many of the bad side that we preach this all over the country now. Now I'm a national trainer and speaker. I'm gone many weeks of the month because I'm training other real estate agents to understand how to wrap your arms around a mature audience to help them through this process, provide solutions to the problems that they're going to face that sometimes we're just in a little denial on. And that's important to me. So what are my options? Living in or aging in place and home with loved ones, right? If you've got a family member that's going to take care of you, that's a great option. The challenge with that is that person at some point is going to have to give up their life for your life. And you got to be okay with that because they can no longer do what they want to do because they're serving you. And if you're okay with that, and if they're okay with that, then that's a solution. What I find in these kind of cases, and we've seen many of them, is there's going to be a built-up resentment in the family. That resentment will never go away. And that'll last generations. And that's the challenge with this model. Downsizing to a smaller house or condo, that's a great idea when you're active, when you're mentally able to. Get out of the big house. You're going to downsize all of your personal items, your clutter, your stuff. You're going to downsize all of that to about half and go into a smaller place. That's the first most important thing. Because clearing out your spouse's things is a challenge when they're no longer around. Adult residential care homes, this is single family homes that you can go to live. That's when you need assistance. You need care. Definitely can go there. In fact, is that brochure in there? Is there a brochure in everyone's group? What's it called? Okay. Yeah, there's a solution for you. If you know somebody that needs to find a care home, we have a guy that we partner with that helps people reach that environment. And then retirement communities. We have clients in every retirement community in the islands, and we're fans of them all. They're all a little different, and in this, there's something for everyone somewhere. So simply said, there's 3 levels of care. You've got independent living, all of you are independent, right? Then you get to a point where you might need assistance. How many of you have long-term care insurance? Anybody have long-term care? Great. If you have long-term care insurance, that's going to cover some care should you need 2 of the 6 activities of daily living. Okay. Bathing, dressing, grooming, toileting, continence, mobility, right? Once you have that, you've got some money there available for when that need shows up. The thing about long-term care insurance is what you want to do is make sure your next of kin, your loved one, if you were in a hospital, who you're going to call first, that person knows what your long-term care insurance account number is, right? And the phone number. Because you want to start the minute that you need the help, you want to start that process because there's typically a 90-day waiting period till you get reimbursed. Okay. So that's just a little tip that you want to keep in mind. And then you get to skilled nursing facilities, we call them SNFs, that it's when you need help, and help, what does that look like? Anytime you have an intrusion, often in your body, tracheotomy, IV, wound care, things like that. The biggest challenge is Great Bar here, memory care. Because there's a silver tsunami that's coming over us now. That this population of baby boomers and their parents, we're getting older and living longer. Our bodies, like I said earlier, are going to out-survive our minds in many cases. And that's why we're going to need memory care. And so these communities all over the place, they provide room, board, and all care you need. So when you come here, it's pretty much all-inclusive for the most part. And Adam's going to talk more about how that works here. So what are your aging in place options? Family taking care of family. You can bring home care into your home. You can bring that care in. There's home care and home health care. We're talking a little bit about the difference there. And then adult day services is taking somebody somewhere else to take care of them for 8 to 5 kind of time period. Pomolo Chinese Home is a good example of that, where people go there, spend the day there, and you get it back. Because it's probably not a good thing for that older adult staying home alone by themselves, if they need, especially if they need help. So home care is more of a social model. It's a company, it's a private company that you can hire that provides companion services for the most part. They help with the personal care, bathing, dressing, grooming, toileting, continence, any of that. They can come into your home and help you. They can help you move from the bed to the chair to the table if you need that. They can help you with dressing. They can help you with, housekeeping. The biggest advantage they provide is cooking and cleaning. Those are the two largest benefits that most people get. And then if you need a ride to Long's or to get your pharmacy medicine, well, they can help with that as well. Then you get to home health care, which is more of a clinical model. It's a registered nurse that would have to show up because either you have insulin injections or you've got a tracheotomy or you've got some kind of wound care that you've got exposed skin. Now, there is Medicare. Medicare is a possibility, but know that there are limits to that Medicare. You have to be homebound. It has to be prescribed by a physician, and it's only up to 100 days per incident. Then it doesn't cover it anymore. So it's not a long-term care plan at all. So, but it is available for a short-term process. What does that run you? Well, home care is about $24 to $30 an hour, and up in some cases. Home health care is $35 to $75 an hour. The most staggering number is if you need 24-hour care. If you need 24-hour care, your home is not the most financially feasible option you're going to find. It's probably one of the worst you're going to find. And you're going to keep in mind, if you don't plan for this, ladies and gentlemen, what are you doing? You're reacting to it. You're going to react to an incident where you got to come up with a lot of money really fast. And that could be a concern. So as we start aging, the age gracefully model is to move in steps, right? Move in steps. Don't think that you're going to live in Dallas until you get carried out in the casket. Let the casket be later. Let's take a few steps in between. Retirement community is one of your best steps. Right? One of your best steps. What do you get with that? Well, you get with your meals, 3 meals a day. I go back to the Ivy. They have taken food service to a whole nother level. Yeah, and you're going to experience it today. Incredible food. The good thing about it is it's good, tasty, but it's also healthy. They'll know if you have dietary restrictions. They can help you with that. 24-hour care, all your maintenance is covered, all your cooking and cleaning is all done for you. You've got your activities. It's going to keep you mentally active. See, not only do you need to keep physically active, you need to keep mentally active. Because even if you're not physically active, let's say you are physically active, but you're not mentally active, what good is that? I think I'd have it the other way around. I don't want to know that I don't know. You know what I mean? But how do you stay active? By being in community with people. The TV, while we have a lot of channels, isn't really cerebral stimulation. That's right. How do you pay for it? Well, you can sell some liquid assets, your stock, bonds, and otherwise. Keep in mind that you go to your financial planner and say, I want money, and you want to sell some of these assets, there's a thing called capital gains tax that you're going to have to pay. Okay. Real estate's one of the few it's the only asset that you own that you get an exemption on that up to $500,000 for a husband and wife. So understanding the capital gains tax is important. If you have any questions on that, we train on this. We can explain that to you. Some people put equity onto their property. They do a HELOC. Home equity line of credit is a great solution to get some money, right? And then other investment property strategies. If you have investment properties, how many of you have a rental property, investment property? Anybody? A few of you? Okay, good. If you do, there's strategies that you can utilize to defer your capital gains, make more money, and create a legacy with your property so that your family won't have to fight over it. So what should you do with your home? Well, one is you could rent it, right? A lot of people don't like that because, they don't want somebody in their house. Keep in mind, when you rent it, you don't release yourself of liability. If something bad shows up, you're still on the hook for it. Somebody dies in your property, we're still on the hook for it. You still got to have insurance, things like that. Passing on the family member, I'm going to tell you that if you give your child the property today while you're alive, you've done a disservice to them because now you've made them, there's a thing called carryover cost basis. So if you bought the property for $100,000, now it's worth $1 million, and you gave it to your son while you're alive, you've carried over the cost basis of $100,000. At any point in his life, when he sells it, he's going to pay the gain from $100,000 to whatever he sells it at. He's going to be responsible for that tax. You've just put a burden on him. What you want to do is keep it in your name and have your trust indicate that upon my demise, it will go to this person. They get a step up in cost basis with zero capital gains tax. Capital gains tax is the number one enemy to generational wealth. And understanding how that works is really crucial to you maximizing the wealth that you have. Most people end up selling their home because they don't want it, and you get a capital gains tax exemption. Or you leave it vacant. I'm not sure why you do that, but people do. Why have an asset that doesn't generate money? It doesn't make sense. So what can I do with rental properties? Well, number one, you could do nothing. And that's what a lot of people are doing now. Nothing. And if you drive around any neighborhood, you're going to see empty, vacant homes. You always wonder, why is that vacant? How come we live there? Is that doing nothing? I'm not sure why you would do that. Doesn't make sense to me. Other than you don't know what you could do with it. Most people just don't know. The other one is, allow loved ones to live in the house. You could do that too, right? If your kids need a place to live, let them live there. And if you let your kids live there until you pass away and you name them as your beneficiary, they can get the property tax-free as long as you don't transfer it while you're alive. Use it as a second home. Some people do that. Not very many, to be honest with you. Many folks are going to use a 1031 exchange to generate more cash, right? And a lot of us, some of you, you're not so concerned about the cash, but I'm challenging you to think about, not you, I'm challenging you to think about what, my mentor is Gary Keller, and he always tells us money is good for the good it does. What kind of good in the world do you want to do? If you had an extra $1,000, $2,000, what could you do with it that would be meaningful to you, to the community that you live in, maybe your church or maybe your family? What good could it do? And I challenge you to think about that, because some people, they just discount it. They think, well, money is evil. No, money is not evil. The love of money is evil. That's what the Bible says. The love of money is evil. It's not money. Money is good for what it does. So think about what good you want to do in the world. Get out of yourself and think beyond yourself. How can I positively impact the world in a way that means something to me? And then you can do a 1031 exchange to support your family. Let's say you got an investment property that you had. By the way, if you have an investment property, one of the first things you want to do is do an asset performance test on that property. That defines how it's returning money to you. We take your income minus your expenses, you annualize that for 12 months, then you really make a relative ratio between that and what it's worth. And that's how we determine that, because you all do the same thing in your stocks and bonds and other instruments. You know the rate of return. But most people don't know the rate of return on their investment properties. And that's what we can help you understand, what it's really doing for you. And again, money is good for the good it does. So people say, well, I don't care, I don't need money. Well, but just think about it. If you had another X dollars, what could you do with it? What good could you do? But how do I protect my home and the rentals that I have? Well, number one, you want to keep it in your trust. So if you own a property and you're not sure if it's in a trust, just let us know. We can go find out. We'll find out for you. But you want to make sure it's in the trust. By the way, a trust is a protective bucket. Now, you can go to the attorney and get a trust designed for $3,000 to $6,000. Okay, you could do that. But if you don't fund that trust, meaning put the real estate into the trust, it's not protected. And there's so many people that just miss that step because they think that the attorney is going to do that. And most of them don't. They're not going to fund it for you. Yeah. And I've seen people that say, "Oh, what's in the trust?" I know I built the trust. Here's my trust document. And look, hey, it's not in the trust. And that's a problem. So you want to keep it in the trust. The other thing is make sure you maintain your insurance. Now, a lot of people will say, my mortgage is done and I'm not going to have insurance because the bank doesn't require that anymore. Insurance is a catastrophic event insurance. If something bad shows up, it's going to protect you. Just keep paying it. Continue the maintenance of the home. Now, just think about it. All these homes, and you drive home, I want you to think about all the neighbors that you have that have all this peeling paint and all the dilapidated homes. How does that happen? Over time, right? It doesn't happen overnight. It happens over time. So, these wood structures, most of our homes in Hawaii are wood structures, right? Wood is very porous as well as concrete, right? It's porous, so water can get into it. If you don't paint your home regularly, water's going to get past that paint. It's going to go into the wood or the concrete. And it's going to create either wood rot and wood, which means you're going to have to replace the wood, or it'll create spalling on your hollow tile, which is it'll start cracking. And it's just going to be more costly over time to fix that. Paint's your simplest solution. It seals your home. Okay. So that's the first thing on changing. It's securing the perimeter, really big because of crime. Yeah. If there's a way you can secure your property without somebody walking up to your front door, that's your best bet. Install motion sensors and alarms. Although in the old days that would prevent robbers from coming in, today it doesn't do that. It just tells you who it was, right? Because they're going to come anyway. But the alarm is going to alert you, maybe scare them away, hopefully. And then check your smoke detectors. There's so many people that die in their home on fires because nothing alarmed them. They couldn't get out. By the way, I don't know if you know this, but the Honolulu Fire Department will come to your home and install a brand new one for you if you let them know. Just call them. They'll help you. They know the value of this smoke detector. It's not much in cost, but lives are valuable. That's how you protect your home and your rental. So if you're looking at the complete solution, the things that you're going to want to do at some point in your life is downsizing and decluttering are a really big challenge for most folks. How many of you have lived in your home more than 20 years? 30 years? 40 years? 50 years? What happens over time? It's funny that all that stuff in my house, who brought that in there? Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did. And what's funny is we put stuff in a closet, we open the door, we put it in there, close it. We pretend it's not there until you open the door, you say, "Oh my God." Or you're looking for something and you go, "What was that thing again?" And you open the door, there it is. And that's going to happen more and more as we get older. Our record client was 89 years old. She lived in her home 89 years. We actually helped her move here. And she moved here because she wanted space. She moved here because she thought that if she needed assistance, they were going to kick her out. They don't kick them out as long as you bring care in. So she stayed there in the best environment she could for the rest of her life. Here. Right in this community. And she loved it. But she did, she was 89 when she walked in here. She I think expired at about 96. Lived here a while. Remove the unwanted items from your home. There's so many things at everyone's home that we should just get clear of. And we just don't do it. My mom used to use the word "bumbai." Bumbai. Bumbai. Yeah, no. Yeah. Bumbai never shows up. Never does. So as you're planning for your future, maybe now is a good time to start doing this stuff out. Even if you're not ready to move or rent or sell, it's okay. Just start planning the process. And then repairs and improvements, really important. When you're selling the home in today's market, the guys that So today's buyer, um, they're kind of finicky in the sense that they like nice, and they're concerned about fixing things up because they don't know who can do it, how much it costs. You know, can I trust this person? Will it be done right? There's too many mysteries in it. Well, over the last 18 years, we did so much of this. We started a construction management consulting arm where we help people fix up their homes. Actually helping somebody build a home today through a general contractor. And we do this all the time, and we help people make that process easy. So if you need help, let us know. Then cleaning and staging it, and then guiding you through the sale of the home and protecting, advocating you through the process. This is what we've built over the years, and this is what we're training real estate agents, hundreds of them all over the country today, how to create that complete solution. So, but before you sell, you want to understand your tax ramifications. So important that most people don't consider this thing called capital gains tax. See, the Internal Revenue Code 121 tells us that if you live in your home 2 out of the last 5 years, they're going to give you $250,000 per person on title living in the property. If you have a spouse, you can take another $250,000. If your son is on title and living in the property, that's another $250,000. If they've lived in it 2 out of the last 5 years and if they're on title. This is how we help people prevent capital gains taxes. Number one, understanding that. Now, and that's up to $500,000. But let's just say you have a gain of $1 million. Because a lot of our clients have a gain of $1 million. What happens to the other $500,000? You're going to be taxed on that. At what rate? 7.25% to the state, 20% for the federal government, and the Obama tax. If your adjusted gross income is greater than $400,000, which it likely will be, you have another 3.8%. Looking at about 30%. A third of all your money is going to be paid to the government for capital gains. Now, there is a way to defer and eliminate capital gains taxes. The way you defer it is you do a 1031 exchange, you sell an investment property, buy another property or greater value, and you defer your capital gains tax. The way you eliminate there's 2 ways to eliminate capital gains tax. I can guarantee you there's 2 ways you do not have to pay capital gains tax. Number one, don't pay it. What? Your view from the bar probably won't be so nice. That's a federal crime. Pay your taxes. The next thing is you're going to die. That I can guarantee you we're all going to go through at some point in our life. So if you do that, your kids get it at a step up in cost basis with 0 capital gains tax. 0. But let's just say your home that you're living in has $1 million of gain. Let's say. And you get $500,000 tax-free. But what about the other $500,000? You're going to be taxed on that unless you do a partial 1031 exchange with your primary residence. How do you do that? You move out of your home for 2 years. You move out of your home for 2 years, now you can take advantage of 2 tax laws. IRS Tech 121 and 1031 exchange. You're combining 2 tax laws that are legally a way to eliminate capital gains taxes in your life. And most people aren't aware of that opportunity. But it is one, especially in Hawaii and California. We're seeing a lot of people understanding that these are plans. This is a 4-year plan that we're creating for you, right? Do a 4-year plan. But it's important because some of this is these are big numbers. It could mean something to your family. So tips to downsize and declutter as you're thinking of moving or storing. We use this acronym called SORT. Sell, offer, retain, and toss. Everything in your home can fit in one of 4 piles. And some people say, you haven't seen my house. Yeah, no, it could be in one of 4 piles. The question you want to ask yourself is, do I love that thing? Whatever it is, do I love it? And if the answer is no, then don't keep it. Get rid of it. If you don't love something, you ever married Marie Kondo? Okay. Yeah, that's her thing. If you don't love it, leave it. And the next question you want to ask yourself is, when will I use it again? Or where will it sit in my new home? See, we have to ask ourselves the question that's going to help us self-discover should I keep it or should I let it go? And that's the hardest thing people have, is letting go of their stuff. Their lifetime of memories, some people say, or their clutter. So how do I pass on the legacy now? There's 3 simple steps. If you have an investment property, if you sold your investment property and did a 1031 exchange and with a replacement property, and the replacement property is defined by your loved one, family member, you don't live there, so you sell a property, an investment property, do a 1031 exchange, 0 capital gains tax, 0. You let a loved one live in there, when you pass away, they get a tax-free. This is the best strategy to create a legacy while you're alive. If you want to bless your kids, there's no other better plan than this. I mean, this is the basic model. There's like 5 models above this that we structure for people that have investment properties, but that's the simplest, best way to do that, so that you can pass on most of your wealth, not part of it. What we tell people when we talk about building wealth and transferring wealth, building wealth's not about making money. It's about what you keep, right? It's how much money you keep. And the taxes is the part that takes things away. So you have to understand all the tax laws are created. Giving you an example, let's just say mom has 4 children, and mom has $1 million asset that she doesn't want anymore. Mom doesn't want the investment property anymore because she doesn't live there. She has never lived there. There's some deferred maintenance on it, right? The roof's getting bad. At some point, she's got to put $12,000 into that. Ooh, I don't want to put more money into that. But the biggest challenge is mom's thinking, oh boy, my kids, George, man, he's gonna blow this. he's gonna mess this up. So I asked mom and dad. I said, hey, help me understand this. Are all 4 of your kids alike? They say quickly, no. Do they act alike? You say no. Do they think alike? No. Are they in the same economic phase of life? No. See, if you keep it in your trust until you pass away, you're putting them in business together. When you're gone, the most amount of money they've ever seen in their life, and they don't agree. How's that going to work for you? Not so good. That's why we have family disputes. Part of our role that we actually have an arm that we call family dispute resolution. And we're actually helping a family now that have had decades of ilikia in their family, and we're solving up for them. We're helping them understand that you cannot divide real estate. Most of us think that, oh, it's in the trust, my kids will get it. Nope, they'll figure it out later. That's their problem. Well, my question to you is, when you're gone, do you want your kids to love each other? All parents say, yeah. So while you're creating an environment that might not work so well. If you can think through this all the way to the end, you see, the way we consult great plans for people is we look at the end in mind and work our way back. The end in mind, when you're gone, who's going to get what? How are they going to get it? And are they going to believe it's fair and rightful? Because if it's not fair in anybody's eyes, it's what happens. There's going to be a fight. And this fight turns into generational disputes. Because the person that got maybe shortchanged, they're going to tell their kids, don't talk to your cousins. They're bad people. They didn't create that. Mom and dad created that. We had a guy that came up to me and said, Dad, I don't have a problem. Yeah, I got 3 kids. And so tell me about your kids. Well, my son, he's a doctor. He's well off. He's fine. My daughter, the middle one, oh, she's a great kid. She comes over. She's a nurse. And then I got another one. Tell me about the other one. Don't worry about him. He's not going to get any. And I said, so I'm not the judge of this. Please understand that I'm just curious. At the end of the day, when you're gone, do you want your kids to love each other? He says, yes. How's that going to work out? And he stopped thinking, I think I got to rethink this. That's up to you. I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm here to propose questions to you so you can self-discover what matters most to you. Remember, money is good for the good it does. What good do you want to do? You want to keep your family together? There's ways to do that. So let's just say in this case, mom comes, she understands that we've helped people do this for many years. She says, kids, we're going to get together. Dad's gone now, and we're going to sell this investment property. We're going to let you four define the replacement property up to a value of $250,000. Why does that work so well today? Because they don't want their condo, that apartment building in or Ely. Because George is in Vegas, Lucy's in California, Grant's in Arizona, and is in Hawaii. They don't want that. They want it where their kids are. See? Because you want to create a legacy from mom, not through the kid, but to the grandkids. Because when I'm hearing from many folks, I'm not a grandfather yet, thank goodness. I have three boys. We're hoping my run out one. Any kid? You're doing? We're good, right? We're safe, right? Okay. We're worried. We have, our youngest is 21, 23, 26. And we just sent our widow went to Japan today. Where's it called? Yeah, so what if they could predetermine their inheritance? They buy 4 properties, stays in mom's name. There's no capital gains tax. There's no burden of that other old building that she didn't want. There's no future fight because these are going to stay in mom's name until she passes away. When she passes away, the kids get it tax-free. Each one of these assets get tax-free passed on to them. There's no better plan in real estate to pass on generational wealth than this, in the most basic form. And this is what we've been helping families all over Hawaii and all over the country to create these plans for folks that didn't realize it was possible, didn't realize that there's a way that they can bless their family while they're alive. Because now, is there a fight at the end when mom and dad's gone? How can there be? The kids pick their investment property. And then if they're not even, the cash, whatever's left, will float over the top to make it all even to the penny. See, you can divide cash. You can't divide real estate. That's the challenge. People think you can divide real estate. It doesn't work that way. So when's the best time to start planning? It's now. It's really now. Because we don't know what the world's going to treat us when we walk out of here. We don't know what's going to happen. And if you don't plan early enough, when bad shows up, you're the reactive person. Yeah. That oftentimes puts a burden on your family. Because who's going to help? Who's responsible to help for your birth? My suggestion is start planning. And that's all we have for today. Can we answer any questions?